All right, we are live. We are here in beautiful sunny Florida, and today, fight fans, I'm going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night 112, Chiesa versus Lee in old Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And I love this card, man. I like this card a lot. There's a lot of good stuff on here. Of course, love it from a betting perspective. Awesome main event between two rising lightweights. I think whoever wins this fight in the main event, there's very, very bright things ahead for that fighter right there. And then just you got good stuff sprinkled all over the card, man. The guy may be a ghost at this point, but it's nice to see BJ Penn in the octagon. Get to see middleweight Johnny Hendricks back in the octagon. I thought he looked awesome last time out. Some very exciting fighters like Eric Koch, Marvin Vettori, Tim Means. There's a lot to like on this card, man. I'm very, very excited to break it down for you guys. And man, I do, as of right now, have 6 bets, and that's probably going to do it for me because I'll get into it in a second. But there's quite a lot behind those bets there, so I do already have quite a lot on the line. Probably going to be done just those 6 solid bets for the card, and just unless there's some kind of crazy line movement or something like that. But man, coming off Jesus Christ, what was this last card? Singapore. I'm coming off a very good card from Singapore, man. I did manage to profit 7.58 units. The biggest bet coming in for me was most definitely that 3 units on Holly Holm wins in the distance at plus 159 to win 4.77 units. That came through huge for me, guys. Levy, what is up, my Finnish friend? If you guys are in here, light that chat up. Let's have a good old time, man. I love doing these live, man. Like I said, it's a lot easier for me, and I like that you guys can talk in the chat. So, man, anything else to get into with you guys? That's really it, man. Let's just get right into this card, man. So the first fight of the night happens to be one of my more confident picks of the card. We got Tony Martin, who is just minus 135 now, taking on Johnny Case minus 105. I do. I was about to say slightly, not slightly at all. I do heavily favor Tony Martin here, man. I thought the line would be much bigger for him. Um, I like him here a lot, man. So there's a lot to like about Tony Martin. The guy, I believe his UFC record is 500. I want to say he's had 6 UFC fights, 3 wins, 3 losses. But you look at who those losses were against. UFC debut against one of the scariest strikers in MMA, Rashid Magomedov. Then goes out there, gets submitted against Beneil Dariush. Got a first-round finish in his next fight, but then lost to Leonardo Santos, who's a very good fighter, who holds a knockout win over the man in the main event this weekend. And then he's coming off 2 straight wins here against very solid competitors in Felipe Oliveri and Alex White. I like Tony Martin a lot. I think he's very big for the weight class. I think he does a very good job utilizing his grappling. He's still very young. He's a very improving fighter. Johnny Case is a guy I'm not entirely sold on. I've maybe only been impressed with Johnny Case maybe once. I don't take the guy into a very high consideration. I think he did get the win in that fight, but the fact that he even went 3 rounds with Francisco Trevino, that shows me a lot. His last fight, he did get submitted by Jake Matthews, who I don't think highly of at all. I think Jake Matthews is a very green fighter. Man, it just, without even going into this with tape study, just looking at the records, just based on Johnny Case got submitted by a very green kid in Jake Matthews. I can't even imagine what Tony Martin's going to do to him in the grappling. So, man, after I did go through and watch tape, I just saw nothing that shows me Johnny Case is going to be able to stuff the takedowns of Tony Martin and be able to get back up to his feet. So I like Tony Martin here. I guess the most likely outcome to me would, I'd say, probably be a finish, but a very grappling-based decision wouldn't surprise me at all. But I'm very solid on Tony Martin here. I did jump on him. I didn't get minus 135, unfortunately. I did get minus 150, but that is 3 units on Tony Martin at minus 150 to win 2 units. I'm very excited about that line. If I would have waited a little longer, I would have got a better line, but I'm still very happy, man. I fully expect to cash out 2 units there. My official prediction is going to be Tony Martin via a second round submission. Moving on here, man, to a very sloppy light heavyweight fight here between Josh Stansbury minus 195 taking on Jeremy Kimball plus 155. I am extremely unimpressed by both of these gentlemen. I do agree with the lines, the line makers here. I do favor Josh Stansbury. I believe he's a little bit less of the sloppy of the two. He's the more athletic, bigger guy, more physically imposing. I feel like he'll probably be able to utilize the grappling here, or probably even outstrike Jeremy Kimball. Jeremy Kimball's he's a very tough motherfucker, and looking at his record here, I forget. I feel like he has a very notable win. He's got a win over Chidi and Chikwani, but I feel like he's so much bigger than Chidi. Yeah, looking at Jeremy Kimball, he just seems like he's got a lot of very early knockouts. He's got some late finishes, too. That's impressive. But, man, in his UFC debut against Marcos Rogério de Lima, looked sloppy as hell. He arguably lost that fight because he tripped and fell all over himself. Now, I don't think Josh Stansbury is the kind of scary, lethal striker that Marcos Rogério de Lima is. I don't think he'll be able to go out there and starch Kimball in the first round, but I'm going to go with Josh Stansbury via, I'll say, a 30-27 decision here. But when it comes to a betting perspective, I am opting out the pass here. But the pick is Stansbury. Next up is Jared Flash Gordon minus 115 taking on Mitchell Quinones minus 125. And it's interesting, man, because this fight was made before Jared Gordon was the favorite. So it's interesting. I wonder what people are seeing here to go ahead and turn Mitchell into the favorite here. I'm not sure really what people are seeing. I broke this fight down in the past. I forgot what card this was supposed to be on, but I did indeed break down this fight before, so I'm not going to go into full extent like I did last time. But basically, I think Mitchell is a very wild, crazy striker with good power. He can starch guys. Jared Gordon is more of a more technical point fighter who's going to outstrike or outstrapple guys over the course of 3 rounds. And I'm a big fan of Jared Gordon. He has a very nice story, similar to Court McGee, where he battled very hard drugs and managed to overcome that and become a fighter in the best martial arts organization in the world. So hats off to Jared Gordon. It's amazing that he's even in the UFC, and I'm a fan of the guy's skills. I think he's a very skilled individual, and I think he's going to be able to weather the storm of Mitchell Quinones and probably ride out a 29-28 or a 30-27 decision. That being said, there's definitely not enough value on the guy to be betting on him in his UFC debut, so this fight is it's going to be a pass for me, man. So moving on. This is an interesting one, man, and we got Daryl Horcher minus 280 taking on Devin Powell plus 200. And if you guys are out there and you haven't maybe exactly done the necessary tape study for this fight, you're probably wondering, Daryl Horcher, isn't that the guy that got destroyed by Khabib? How is he minus 280 in the UFC? Well, I'll tell you exactly why, man. This guy, Devin Powell, is he's the worst lightweight on the roster, man. And I'm not trying to disrespect the guy. He's obviously he's a fighter. He steps into the octagon, but I don't think highly of the guy's skills at all. Daryl Horcher, yeah, he did come in against Khabib and got his ass whooped, but look at what the guy did outside the UFC. He went on a little impressive regional run there. I think the guy is very skilled. And I think he should have no problem handling Devin Powell here. I'm very confident in Daryl Horcher that he can get this fight done on the feet or the grappling. I'm sorry, man, but I just don't see anything from Devin Powell. I'm really, really questioning why he or how he even got into the UFC. I know he's looking for a fight guy, or as I like to call it, looking for a jobber. But um, I don't know, man. He must have just showed Dana White something in that fight he had. I think it's just the toughness, because I guess if anything, his best attribute is his toughness. Just the fact that he was able to go 3 rounds with Drakkar Close, I guess, is kind of impressive. But man, I think Darrell Horcher should have no problem here, and it is a little scary because I believe it was about like a month or two after the Khabib fight, Darrell Horcher got into a very scary motorcycle accident and went through a couple injuries, couple scary injuries, but he's took the proper time off to heal his body. He's back in training. Seems very confident based on interviews, Instagram pictures, yada yada. But I love Darrell Horcher here, man. And quick shout out to all you guys in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. Will Martin, what is up? Pim, Brandon, Camille, what is going on, guys? But yeah, that all being said, I do have a total of 2 units riding on Darrell Horcher here. I have him in I have him in 2 different 1-unit parlays. So 2 units on Darrell Horcher here. So moving on, man, we got a women's bout between Carla Esparza minus 245 taking on Marina Moroz plus 175, and pre-tape and just initial thought on this fight, I'm like, okay, this is Carla Esparza all day. I don't see Marina Moroz being able to land to stuff takedowns. I'm not really sure how Marina wins this fight, man. I don't see her stuffing takedowns or getting back up. But just after more, it was more just giving my brain like time to think about this fight more than it was just tape study in general, because Carla Esparza really burned me last time out, guys. I had like 3 or 3.5 units on her against Randa. I do believe she should have gotten those judges' scorecards, but I was very disappointed in her performance just based on I thought it should have been a lot more dominant. I don't think Carla is quite the same woman she was before the Joanna Jędrzejczyk fight, and Marina Moroz is now I do think she's a lot less skilled than Carla Esparza. She's a very tricky woman, man. She's tricky on the ground with her scrambles. She's very long. I wouldn't be shocked at all if she was able to just utilize her very long jab or kicks and keep Esparza away from her, and she's got that very long frame. Maybe she can stuff takedowns if this isn't the same Carla Esparza, but the most likely outcome here is absolutely Carla being able to land takedowns and hold Marina down. And one thing I will give Carla in that Randa fight, her striking did look improved, but this was also against Randa Marcos, and I think Marina Moroz has a little bit better striking than Randa Marcos, even though Marina did have that very terrible fight against Danielle Taylor. I think Marina probably sharper on the feet here. She could probably make some real sneaky shit happen on the ground when it gets there. So although I do favor Carla to be able to go out there and grind her out for 3 rounds with the wrestling, I'm passing, man. I can't do it. I can't bet on Carla again after the last fight. It's tough for me. That really burned me last time. So I will go with Carla Esparza via a 30-27 decision, but this is going to be a pass for me, man. So moving on, this is a big one for me, guys. We got Marvin Vettori, the Italian lad, minus 285, taking on Vitor Miranda plus 205. So I'm just gonna come right out and say it. This is the first of 2 max bets for me. I do indeed have 5 units on Marvin Vettori. I was able to get a much better line than minus 285. I was able to pick him up at minus 210. So that's 5 units to win 2.40. Marvin Vettori is a very, very skilled fighter, man. Came into the UFC, made very quick work of Alberto Uda, and then he came in and lost a decision last time out to Antonio Carlos Jr., but man, we all know how good Antonio Carlos Jr. is. And looking in hindsight, that was a very tough fight for Marvin Vettori. Although I did have a bet on him there, but man, this is just this is the definition of a good matchup for Marvin Vettori. So I love the angles I have on this fight, man. We have a very young, improving, legit stud in Marvin Vettori versus a very old fighter who's coming off a long layoff, who's coming off a tough loss. And just the stylistic matchup in this fight is great. I think if Vitor Miranda does have very good striking, and he can go out there and starch guys like Jake Collier, Clint Hester, and Marcelo Guimaraes. But man, that fight against Chris Camozzi showed me a lot, and I did take the shot on Chris Camozzi in that fight just because I've never been sold on Vitor as a complete fighter. Yes, the guy does have very good striking, but I've never been sold on him as a complete striker. And the fact that Chris Camozzi was able to go out there and outgrind Vitor Miranda, that just makes me wonder how much of a beating Vitor Miranda is about to take from Marvin Vettori. If he can get outgrinded by Chris Camozzi, Marvin Vettori is about to do some very very bad things to Vitor. I see Marvin Vettori being able to land takedowns very easily, beat up Vitor on the ground, probably get a submission. I really like Marvin Vettori here to win in the distance, but I wouldn't be shocked by a decision, which is why I decided not to wait for the end of distance prop and just play this straight, man. I'm being very straightforward on this card. Out of all my plays, they're all just straight picks, either just straight plays or in parlays. I only have one total, so I'm betting very straightforward in this card. No crazy stuff. Very solid bets. But man, I love Marvin here. I think he's going to be able to outgrind Vitor, just no problem at all. I think he's got a very big athletic youth, speed, strength, in my opinion. I don't see Vitor. I mean, Vitor's obvious way of winning this fight is to stuff the takedowns and outstrike Marvin Vettori. Now, even if he does go out and stuff the takedowns, man, I think the very athletic younger guy, I'm not saying he could outstrike Miranda, but I think he can most definitely hold his own and land some very big strikes of his own, maybe even knock out Miranda here. So if you're looking at Marvin Vettori here, I wouldn't be so sure on that Marvin Vettori via submission prop. I can see him knocking out Vitor on the feet. I can see him landing ground and pound. So very solid on Marvin Vettori. I'm fine with him wherever this fight goes, but of course I want to see him go for those takedowns. But my official prediction will be I'll say Marvin Vettori round 1 submission. So moving on here, man, we got Eric Koch minus 210 taking on Clay the Carpenter Guida plus 160. And man, so this is a fun fight, if anything. We all know what we get with Clay Guida. A lot of the times he's boring, but old Clay Guida was a very exciting guy, and you never know when that guy could come back. Guy's got, 50 fights here, 32-17. The thing is, 50 fights, he's taken a lot of damage in those fights. I am convinced that at this point in his career that Clay Guida is probably a shot fighter. I do kind of like that he's coming back up to 155 here, but he's got a very tough cat in front of him in Eric Koch, man. I think every time I play this fight over in my head, I just see the younger, more athletic guy in his prime, Eric Koch, being able to land that one big-ass punch and knocking Clay Guida out, man. I really don't see Clay Guida being able to do much of anything to Eric Koch here. I think he's going to knock Guida out, man. And a lot of people will say that Clay Guida was winning that fight against Brian Ortega. They say he was up 2-0. I think he definitely at least won one of those rounds. I forget if it was the first or second. That was very close. But either way, man, I'm a non-believer of Brian Ortega, so I really don't take that into too much consideration. But I think he's got just a very tough dude, and I'm glad Eric Koch decided to move back up from 145 pounds as well. He's been back at 155 for a while, but Man, almost had to sneeze there. Had to fight that one off. But I like Eric Koch here, man. I see him being able to get it done on the feet and probably very quick. So I'm going to be going with Eric Koch via a first round knockout here. And I do have a total of 3 units on Eric Koch. So one of those 1 unit parlays with Daryl Horcher is with Eric Koch. I got Koch and Horcher at plus 103, 1 unit to win 1.03. And then I have Eric Koch in a 2 unit parlay with a prop later in the card. So very solid on one Eric Koch here, man. So moving on to the main card, and these fights are, I don't even know if this is the accurate order that UFC.com has it listed. Like, it seems like every single website has these fights listed in a different order. But either way, man, we got the legend BJ Penn plus 175 taking on Dennis Siver minus 245. Man, I like BJ here. I'm going with BJ Penn. I think BJ probably gets this done via decision. If he went out there and finished Dennis Siver, it wouldn't surprise me. But I'm going to be going ahead and picking BJ. But I really had to hold myself back from a bet here because we all know how shot BJ Penn is at this point. He really is a ghost of himself. It's been maybe 5-6 years since his last win. And this is a lot of thoughts that people had on BJ Penn even before Yair Rodriguez. Yair Rodriguez maybe even destroyed BJ Penn more than he already was. We could even be looking at a more BJ Penn, more of a worse BJ Penn than we did before the Yair fight. But then on the other hand, you could run it the other way and say, he got back into the octagon. He got those minutes back in there. Dennis Siver hasn't fought in about 2 years since his loss to Kawajiri, and I think I want to say that fight was in Germany, but I could be 100% wrong. But man, I've been so tempted to bet on BJ here, man, but I feel like there's 2 big reasons stopping me from betting on BJ Penn here. One, I feel like it might just be like a bias thing because I'm a huge fan of BJ Penn. Most people are. And then 2, the guy's so shot. It's hard to trust him here, even at a very nice line at plus 175. And also, I don't think Dennis Siver should be minus 245 to anybody, especially coming off a 2-year layoff. If I can get plus 200 on BJ Penn, I will take the half-unit shot, but we'll see, man. I don't see people going in there and continuing to bet Dennis Siver at minus 245. That's crazy, man. I don't know how people can be confident in Siver. Man, but I think BJ could go out there. I'm not so sure he could outstrike him. Dennis Siver probably is the better striker at this point, but if BJ Penn can land those takedowns, I feel like he could be able to grind Dennis Siver out or maybe even pull out that submission, maybe even land that big bomb on the feet. We know how BJ Penn does sometimes, but be biased, who knows? But this fight ain't getting my money unless BJ's up to my plus 200. I'm going to go with BJ Penn. And I'll say by decision. I'll say 29-28 for the Prodigy there, man. So moving on, we got a good one here, man. We got Tim Means minus 195 taking on Alex Garcia plus 155. This fight is this is a good fight, man. This might be, honestly, maybe the second best fight on the card. Honestly, I like this fight a lot. So we got Tim Means, who is coming off that very tough loss to Alex Oliveira. I'm really not sure what happened there. He looked great against Cowboy in the first fight, and then kind of just fell apart in that second fight. But he's got Alex Garcia in front of him here, little Hector Lombard Jr. Alex Garcia's got about 5 minutes of fight in him, guys. So I feel like I'm very confident in Means here, but that first 5 minutes is going to be some scary shit, man. He's got that one punch power. He could absolutely put Means away, but I think Means, he's a very intelligent fighter. I think he knows exactly what he has to do. I think he can pick his shots and kind of stay safe in that first round. Let Alex Garcia wing those bombs, miss, fucking whiff, get tired. And who knows? Maybe Alex Garcia was going to try to go out there and land those takedowns. I think Alex Garcia's best way to win this fight is to, rather than whiffing on air, missing shots, getting tired. Go for those takedowns in the first round. Go for those takedowns in the second round. Third round will be tough for you, but try to win via takedowns. I don't think he's going to try to do that. I think he's going to try to take Tim Means' head off. Even if he does go for those takedowns, I think Tim Means could probably stuff him. Maybe. We'll see. But I think the most likely outcome here, man, is that Tim Means survives that very scary first round, starts to take over in that second, and then in the third round, when Alex Garcia is quite tired, Tim Means is going to absolutely pop off on this dude's face and knock him out clean, man. So I'm going to go with Tim Means via a third round KO. And I was thinking about waiting for that Tim Means KO prop, but I'm going to give Alex Garcia the chance to survive 3 rounds here with Tim Means. So I'm just taking Tim Means straight. And I'm not going too big on him, just 1 unit on Means. That's the other parlay with Horcher. So I got 1 unit on Tim Means and Daryl Horcher at -101 to win 0.99 units. So basically 1 unit to win a unit there at even money. So Means and Horcher there. Official pick, Tim Means, third round TKO. Now, moving on here, man, not sure why this fight's on the main card, but I guess it could be exciting. We got Dominic Reyes, the newcomer, at -275, taking on Joachim Christensen, +195. Man, it feels like it was just a couple weeks ago we saw Joachim Christensen get his ass handed to him, but we got Dominic Reyes here, man, and it really takes a special kind of bad fighter for a guy to come in at -275 here. And I think Dominic Reyes is a very skilled fighter. I think he's got the skills on the feet. He's obviously got big power. You look at the guy's record, he's got lots of finishes. Joachim Christensen, I guess he's going to want to take this fight down to the ground and grind Reyes out or look for that sub because he's completely outgunned on the feet here. Dominic Reyes is going to have it all for him, and my official pick here, although not extremely confident by any means, this is still a newcomer at a very high weight class. These are big boys. If Joachim Christensen goes in there and lands some kind of gigantic bomb and puts Reyes out, I wouldn't be surprised. But as of right now, my official pick is Dominic Reyes via a first round KO. I think he puts Christensen away in the first round. Now, I am passing on this fight because I think -275 is a little too steep for not only a newcomer, but a light heavyweight newcomer. So I'm going to be passing there, man. But I wouldn't hate on anybody at all for parlaying up old Dominic Reyes there just because Joachim Christensen really is one of the worst fighters in the UFC. And Dominic Reyes, he does got some skills, man. So I don't hate you on that at all for parlaying up Reyes, but I'm staying away personally. I'm starting to try a little playing a little tighter here. So I'm passing on this fight, but Reyes first round KO is my pick. Now moving on here, man, pretty good women's bout, man. We got Felice Herrig -135 taking on Justine Kish -105. Now this is a really good fight, and I told myself that I really don't know where the odds makers are going to go with this fight. I would bet either woman at +150 here. Now it's -135 to -105 right now. It did open up. Man, what the hell did it open up at? I think I got to look this up, guys. But either way, so Justine Kish, although I do think she should be 0-2 in the UFC, I thought she lost that Nina fight, and I thought she lost the Yoder fight. I've been impressed with her skills, man, especially in the Yoder fight. I love how aggressive she was with the scrambles. She never stops fighting. She is very skilled. I like her a lot, man. The fight did open up. Justine Kish -180, Felice Herrig +140. I'm not going to lie, if I would have got on that a little earlier, I might have taken that Felice +140, but I don't know, probably not. I probably would have stuck to my guns and needed +150. And at this point, I don't think either woman's going to get to +150, so I doubt I'm going to be betting on either of these women. I really don't know. I'm really struggling with this pick, man. As for Felice Herrig, she was struggling a little bit. She lost that fight to Paige Van Zandt, that's Paige Van Zandt. That's a little unimpressive there for Felice Herrig, but she bounced back, man. She's got a very impressive win over a highly touted prospect in Alexa Grasso, and it looks like she has her confidence back, and I'm going to have to go ahead and say I agree with the odds makers here that Felice Herrig should be a very, very slight favorite. I think like I said, I think Justine Kish, I admire her aggressiveness and her pace and her skills, but I do think she should be 0-2 in the UFC, and I think Felice Herrig is a little rejuvenated. I think she's got her confidence after that Grasso fight. I was impressed with her skills there. I I think she should be able to outpoint Justine Kish here over the course of 3 rounds. If she wants to go for those takedowns, she's got to be ready for those Kish scrambles. Because Kish can fucking scramble, man. On the feet, I think Herrig can outstrike Kish, but Kish is no slouch of a striker at all. This is just a very very well matched fight. I give the matchmakers credit for this one. This is a really well matched fight, and ultimately, I think it probably goes to a very, very, very close split decision where I think Felice will probably get the decision, but it seems like the judges really admire Justine Kish's like aggressiveness because, in my opinion, she should be 0-2 in the UFC, but she's out here at 2-0. So, and man, I'm fighting off another sneeze. Be right back. Couldn't do it, guys. Tried to fight that one off, but it didn't happen. But man, yeah, like I said, I see this fight being a very, very close split decision. That all being said, I did take the over 2.5 rounds here. I got 2 units on Eric Koch parlayed with the over 2.5 rounds in this fight at plus 101. So 2 units to win 2.02. So the over in this fight parlayed with Eric Koch. So moving on to the co-main event here, man. We got Johnny Big Rig Hendricks, who is minus 210, taking on Tim Boetsch, plus 175. And this is indeed my second 5-unit max bet of this card. 5 units on Johnny Hendricks at minus 245 to win 2.05 units. Clearly, I should have waited because he's minus 210 now. Don't understand that line movement at all because I think this is Johnny Hendricks all damn day, man. I think, see, I've been a fan of Johnny Hendricks for a long time. Like his run to the UFC title where he was starching dudes very quickly is one of my favorite runs in UFC history. I've been a fan of the guy for a long time. I thought he won that GSP fight. I thought he won that second Robbie Lawler fight. But man, so there's this recent losing streak that he was on. Well, first, I'll just say I think the perception of Johnny Hendrick is a lot more negative than it should be. I think the guy is not shot by any means. I think there's a lot of people out there saying he's done, he's shot, he's not the same guy. Now, I don't think he's the same guy that he was in that GSP fight, but I still think he's a very, very capable fighter with a lot of skills. So he lost that Robbie Lawler fight. He lost the belt there. Then he comes back, wins against Matt Brown. Pretty impressive. Then he loses to Stephen Thompson in the first round via strikes. Now, that was a very tough fight for him. That was his first fight at a new camp after leaving, I think it was Team Takedown. I don't even know. I think it was Team Takedown. His first time leaving that camp at a new camp. Also with a new nutritionist. And Stephen Thompson, tough fucking guy to fight, man. So he gets starched there in the first round. Then goes 3 rounds with Kelvin Gastelum. We all know by now what a tough motherfucker Kelvin Gastelum is. Johnny Hendricks had some success in that fight, so I don't take anything away from Johnny Hendricks there. I thought he fought well in that fight against Kelvin, who's a tough guy. And then the Neil Magny fight. I bet Neil Magny there, but I don't know, man. I feel like it depends how you score fights. Johnny Hendricks was able to land takedowns consistently, but he really didn't do anything. So I guess I do understand Neil Magny getting the decision there. I mean, I was happy about it. I had money on Magny, but I was impressed by Hendricks there. He was still able to go out there and be Big Rig Johnny Hendricks and land takedowns consistently. So I don't think that was a bad performance by any means. And then he comes up to 185 pounds and fights Hector Lombard, who is very scary fighter, very tough out for anybody in the sport. I'm sorry if you think Lombard's bad or anything like that. That's a tough fight for anybody in the division. So Johnny Hendricks goes out there, looks a lot faster, a lot more mobile, throwing a lot more strikes, looks like a whole new man, looked incredible in that fight against Lombard. Not a world beater by any means, but we can all agree that was probably his best performance in a very, very long time. Maybe even a better performance than that Matt Brown fight. Probably the best Hendricks that we've seen since the Lawler fights, honestly. I just thought he looked like a new guy in there. He looked fresh. You could tell he was very happy about not having to cut that weight. And you could tell after the fight that you could see the happiness in his eyes. Johnny Hendricks was very excited about that win. I believe he has his confidence back. So I think we're looking at the best Johnny Hendricks we've seen in years. And he's not cutting weight. And then you take a look at the other side of the octagon here. His opponent, Tim the Barbarian Boetsch, who is really known for all those comebacks he's got in his career, man. If you look at the guy's record, man, not. I mean, I think his UFC record is worse than 500. But man, if you look at all those fights that he was losing and then came back on, if you count those fights as losses because he was losing a majority of those fights, like the Tavares fight, like the Yushin Okami fight, the dude's got a really terrible record in the UFC, and he gets those wins by knocking dudes out. And I think Johnny Hendricks is a hell of a chin, man. It took a lot of strikes from Wonderboy Thompson to get him out of there, and that is the only guy that was able to knock him out. I think Johnny Hendricks is a rock hard chin. Barbarian, his really only way to win this fight is to land that one big punch. I think Hendricks' chin will hold up. I think the only thing that can really knock out Johnny Hendricks is like the accumulation of a lot of really tough strikes that are hard to see, like how Wonderboy saw him. But a lot of people talk about how Tim Boetsch could possibly out wrestle Johnny Hendricks here just based on size. I disagree with that a lot, man. I actually think Johnny Hendricks can do a good job getting in and out, landing a lot of strikes, and then getting out of the range of Tim Boetsch's wrestling, his takedowns. I mean, maybe even land takedowns of his own, man, because all in all, I think Johnny Hendricks is pound for pound the better wrestler. And there's a lot of people who say Johnny Hendricks, he won't be able to take Tim Boetsch down. He's so much smaller. I mean, I am pretty sure I just saw this past weekend that Rafael Dos Anjos, who's a much smaller fighter, was able to take down Tarek Safadine. And we've seen this time after time, man. Smaller guys can take down bigger guys, man. It's all about technique and who's the better fighter. And I think Johnny Hendricks, the most likely outcome here is that he outstrikes Tim the Barbarian Boetsch here over the course of 3 rounds. He's going to be faster, more mobile. He's the way better striker, man, like by miles. I think Johnny Hendricks is a much better boxer. I think he's going to be able to get in and out of the range of Tim Boetsch's bombs. I see him piecing up Tim Boetsch here over the course of 3 rounds, and I really rambled on about this fight, but I'm like really, really confident about it, man. So 5 units on Johnny Hendricks to win 2.05. My official prediction is a Johnny Hendricks 30-27 decision, but if he goes out there and knocks out Tim Boetsch, I would not be shocked at all. We've seen Tim Boetsch knocked out by really terrible fighters like Ed Herman. So, man, I'm just a mess over here, guys. I'm sick. I'm sneezing. I'm very sorry about that. But man, but yeah, Johnny Hendricks 30-27 decision is my pick. Now people are walking by my house and my dog's going crazy. This is just a disaster, guys. But moving on, man, to the main event of the evening. I'm super excited about this fight. We got Kevin Lee minus 135 taking on Michael Chiesa plus 115. Man, I've struggled all week with my pick for this fight, man. I guess initially I was leaning Michael Chiesa. As of right now, I have changed my pick to Kevin Lee a couple days ago. So I do agree with the odds makers. I think minus 135 Lee is just about right in my opinion. It's tough, man. So to me, I think on the feet, I think Kevin Lee, he's faster, more athletic. He's the younger guy. He's got more time to improve his striking. I'm not saying Michael Chiesa is old by any means, but Kevin Lee is definitely a lot younger in the game. I think Kevin Lee could outstrike Michael Chiesa if this is a 5-round striking match, but I doubt that. I think when it comes to the wrestling, Kevin Lee's the better wrestler. He's going to be the one probably initiating the takedowns and landing them. On the ground, it's tough, man. If Kevin Lee's going to be able to land those takedowns and he's the one on top, probably he can he can grind out Michael Chiesa, but it's tough, man. Michael Chiesa is really strong on the ground. All it takes for him is all it's going to take here for Michael Chiesa is him to reverse one takedown, win a good scramble. If he gets on top or just the back of Kevin Lee, if he gets a dominant position on the ground over Kevin Lee here, it's going to be very scary because Michael Chiesa is super strong on the ground. He's very smart on the ground. He knows exactly what he's doing, and I could see a scenario where Kevin Lee is going out there winning. He's up 4 rounds to none, and he lands a takedown on Chiesa. Chiesa gets his back, and that's all she wrote. Michael Chiesa submission, man. It's very tough. I think this is a case where Kevin Lee is the better fighter, the younger guy, the more athletic guy, the more technically gifted guy. But it's very hard to bet against a very dangerous, very strong guy like Michael Chiesa. It scared me away quite a bit. Now you can argue that Michael Chiesa's had quite the layoff now. That's a good angle on Kevin Lee, maybe, but it's tough, man. My pick is going to be Kevin Lee. I think he gets it done by I don't know, man. I guess the most likely outcome, in my opinion, is probably a Kevin Lee decision. I have a hard time seeing him. Man, I mean, I had a hard time seeing him finish Francisco Trinaldo, so I really never know. Maybe he can go out there and finish Michael Chiesa. I'll give him that. I will say Kevin Lee, 4th round TKO, but not a lot of confidence behind that. This fight is a huge pass for me, man. It's tough, man. It's tough. Chiesa's a tricky, tough, strong, gritty motherfucker. So, honestly, my pick is Lee, but if there's value on anyone here, it's probably Michael Chiesa at plus 115. And if Chiesa is going to win this fight, it's probably going to be by submission. Michael Chiesa wins by submission at plus 241. Honestly, out of all these props, out of all the lines on the fight, I think Michael Chiesa wins by submission at plus 241 might be your winner for most value on a line for this fight. So if you're going to bet anything on this fight, I would take the Michael Chiesa wins by submission. I don't see him winning a decision. I don't see him winning by TKO. So I'd say Michael Chiesa by submission is a good play there, but my official pick is going to be Kevin Lee, and I'll take him by TKO in the 4th round. But that's going to do it for me, guys. That's it. That's this whole card. I know Alir Latifi versus Little Nog was supposed to be on this card. Man, if that fight was still on this card, I might be looking at 3 max bets for this card, man. But Latifi probably would have been minus 500, so I doubt it. But man, thank you guys all so much for watching. I appreciate you guys all talking in the live. Francis, Levy, Stefan, James, Sean, Mammoth, all you guys are savages. Kakashi Ball, I know who you told me who you were on Twitter before, but I forget, man. But I see you in here a lot. I appreciate it a lot, man. Will Martin, Savage. Thank you for being in here. Mitchell, thank you guys all so much. That's going to do it for me. This went pretty long, but I'm psyched for this card. One other thing I wanted to say, Bellator NYC is this weekend. I did feature that whole Bellator NYC / Bellator 180 card in the Hardcore's Delight episode for June. I'll link that video in the description, man. Also, if you're in this live chat, because there's 35 of you guys right now, hit that like button real quick. It just takes 2 seconds. If you're watching this after the fact, comment below. Tell me who you're betting on for this card. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel real quick, man, because there's tons of fun shit coming. And check out my friend Will Martin, who's over talking in the chat right there, man, because Will Martin is one of the best in the MMA YouTube scene. The guy does awesome breakdowns. Really cool guy. So go check out Will Martin. Shout out to him for being in here. And that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate it very, very much. And above all, enjoy these fights.